Hey, so in this video, I want to show you how I added 22.7K to my bank account over the last week and had 25 orders, and the ins and outs behind the Modern Maker OS model that I've been using, just to give you some context, break down the numbers, show you some examples on everything. Now, if you've watched some of my YouTube, you may have seen me sort of bring up this model before. Maybe it looked a little bit different. I'm slowly upgrading my little doodles here, and this is the first time I am using FigJam, so it makes it all look pretty. And hopefully I fixed my microphone today so it sounds better. Thank you for all your feedback. So this model is something I'm going to go over at high level. There is another video which I'll drop in the description below that goes into it in more detail, but essentially what I am doing is I'm showing people how to go from lead to customer to client, not from lead to client, by selling little snacks here. So just so you can contextualize it, this little circle here in my world is an asset. So that is like a template, a video, a workshop, something that I've created for my clients, and I bring it all the way up here in the funnel and I start talking about it, giving context to my leads on LinkedIn, on Instagram, everywhere about it, and then, give them little offers to grab a playbook lead magnet or grab some sort of video lead magnet, and then make them an offer to buy something really, really small to turn them from a lead to a customer. And then when they become customers, I send them Google Docs and little messages like this one that says, hey, over here, to turn them from customers to clients. These assets basically are born through me doing things for clients. And when I'm talking to content or writing content, they're ideas, right? So we're in the business of selling ideas, giving people little snacks, and then getting them to become clients at some sort of proximity level. I'd love to shed a little more light on this proximity here because it's all going to make sense when I crunch down the numbers. But essentially, just like this little sort of egg thing or onion layer thing, I call it a proximity ladder, because we basically rent out our time. Netflix, Spotify, phone bill, all these people use subscriptions. Why can we not rent out our time? So the closer in proximity you get to me, the more you pay, right? And some people just want the asset, the little circle. Other people want the asset plus some sort of, let's say, group coaching in my case, or they want the asset, the group coaching, and some more support, like in a Discord channel. And people might want all of those things plus one-on-one and Zoom and whatever. So the higher up you go up the proximity ladder, the more proximity you offer, the more money you can make. So the principle of this was me running a workshop that I called the Modern Maker OS workshop series, where I showed people over 3 weeks how to install this little system, right? So I started making content on LinkedIn, sharing context, getting people to join my email list. And then on my email list, I told them about this little asset, which in this case was a workshop for $9, right? And then at the checkout, maybe there was another little snack that I offered them, some extra support or a bigger snack, right? Sort of like in the conventional e-com world where we have an order bump and then an upsell, right? This is sort of like the middle of my funnel where all the magic happens. We've got YouTube videos like this that share the value and more context, like remarketing ads and emails. And then my top of the funnel is where I share my ideas, right? On LinkedIn, on Instagram. I've also got some little tiny $5 a day paid ads and then word of mouth. And these are my sort of lead magnets. But when it comes to proximity, some people might just want the asset to be indoctrinated in your world, to get a taste of what it's like. Other people might want more support. So now that we've understood sort of the principle of proximity, and if you want more context, I'll drop a video down below that sort of breaks this down a little bit more. We are able to run this one post, one email, one offer lifestyle. But anyway, the purpose of today is for me to break down these numbers. So where did this come from? Where did the 25 orders come from? I could sit here and talk about, oh my God, you had this many cart views and this many bounces and the conversion rate sucked. And, I'm not going to get into that. I'm quite happy actually that 25 people purchased this, because I also was going to run this workshop to my existing Modern Maker clients, regardless of who bought what. So out of these orders, 25 of them paid $150 to be here. So that I did it in 3 installations. I did it in 1, and roughly 3,750 people, $3,750 came from that. Of those, 1 person ascended to pay annually. They were ready. They were sold. They were like, Jacob, I want to work with you long term, and bought the annual sort of proximity layer, which was the group coaching. Of these 25, 3 of them paid $5,000, so that's $15,000, because they wanted to accelerate. They wanted me to work with them one-on-one to install this for them or help them install it. And 1 of them opted in for that layer below it, which meant they got the assets, so the workshop, they got the community, and they got a Discord channel where I'm in there, but it's not quite one-on-one. That sort of adds up these numbers. So it's amazing to see that through that proximity little, layer, if you like, the proximity ladder, you're able to make more offers to the people that have already transacted. That's why, to me, those little $9 offers that I'm going to show you are so valuable, because they indoctrinate someone in your world. And then if they want more proximity, you can then offer these little back-end offers. So it was a pretty good week. I'm not going to lie. I'm stoked, and I'm very excited to be showing them what we're going to do to install the system. And then this is the little dashboard of the subscriptions that were sort of added this month, which was nice. Now, anyone who knows me, I will never make a claim that, oh my God, I made $90K in yearly revenue. Annual recurring revenue means nothing to me, right? It just, because people can churn, people can stop paying, they haven't actually paid the full thing. So what I've done is I've just screenshotted this for transparency purposes to show that that is what the dashboard shows. And the reason it's 33 subscriptions is because 8 new subscribers came through this week by me promoting my playbook on LinkedIn, which I'll show you the ins and outs with an example in a second. But I just did a very quick calculation here to say, if I took that number roughly based on the experience of the previous years, I've just added about 28% churn, right? Like, let's say anything between 20 to 30. Now this number here is arbitrary, but if that was the churn, that number then automatically becomes 60 to 65,000. So obviously when somebody pays weekly, like a subscription, like we pay our phone bill or Netflix or whatever, they can churn. So you want to increase the lifetime value by getting them to pay the annual if they want to. But that is to show a more clear indication of where those numbers are from. And being totally transparent, 25 opted in for the workshop series and the 8 came from me doing other promos. So this is a little screenshot of what my emails looked like. They were literally annoying this week to get so many Thrivecart order bots come through, but I've got a separate email now that gets the notifications. And then these are the clients sort of coming in and doing their onboarding so I could let them in, and so on and so forth. So I've got this little Zapier bot that helps me get notified when they fill the form so I can read, and I get all sorts of details in there to understand what made them buy so I can create content like this, right? Now here's an example of Thrivecart again. So Thrivecart is the same little company here that gives me these screenshots. It's where I do my checkout pages. I'm not affiliated to them in any way, but you can use Samcart, Shopify, Stripe, whatever floats your boat. And you can see clients like this guy over here paid the 9 on the 12th of August, and then we canceled it on the 18th. It was going to roll into a $50 a week subscription because he opted into the Inner Circle, which is $3,000 a year. So on the 18th, 6 days later, we canceled this one because he bought the bigger tier. So it started off at 9 and within 6 days, 4 figures, right? And you can see the messages here where he's like, shall I sign up for Inner Circle? He basically wanted a little bit more support from me and have a call that we would do his game plan, and then asked for the direct link, and then he joined. The other lady, I think it was here, who said, came in at 9, where can I upgrade to the annual membership? Here it is, paid, happy days, did the onboarding and everything from there. So that is just to show you that this little proximity ladder works wonders, because you are marketing to your clients vertically. We're not going from left to right, always trying to get people to buy that one thing. Once they have bought, we want to ascend them up or down the proximity ladder. And there's many clients of mine who might, do this tier, for example, and then be like, can I downgrade to this one because of a family event, or because, I just want to downgrade and be around in that layer. So you can go up and down as well. But hopefully this gives you a little more context on the mechanics and the model behind it. Now, I just want to share with you the examples of how these numbers came about. Now, as a little disclaimer, obviously, I've built my audience on LinkedIn to 50,000 almost. I think just under that. It's probably 48.4K at this moment. And I've been on here doing this since 2023. So building an audience is one of the biggest assets you can build for yourself, for leverage. I could have gone down the paid ads route, which I'm exploring right now, very limited because I've just had a daughter. But primarily it comes 95% organic because of this asset that I have built, right? Now, some people may not want to build an audience, or they have a smaller one, they want to pay to play. There's very different ways of doing it, but my sort of Modern Maker OS is inbound only. That's how we do it. But essentially, I just want to show you here. So I write little posts like this. So if we go back to our little model here, you can see it runs on 1 post, 1 email, and 1 offer a day. So 1 post on LinkedIn or Instagram, 1 email a day with a little snack offer, and then 1 offer a day in the back end to buy something bigger or smaller or whatever it is. So that's the sort of mantra or the philosophy. Here you can see that I wrote little posts like this. So for example, this one was a carousel, hand wrote it with my wife and had a lot of fun and got some reposts, got some likes. And I'm saying, inside of this, there's a keyword that says comment playbook, and I'll send you some details. I'll put in the playbook below so you can have a go if you want to see it. It's like a 30-page book where I describe this Modern Maker OS in more detail. But essentially what that does is it's a lead magnet, right? So if we go back here, that is this little lead magnet over here, which takes people from socials into my email list, right? So by doing that, here's another example of me writing a post saying, some people are scared of failure. I was scared of success because we were taught to struggle and this and that and whatever. And all of this is possible because of this little Modern Maker OS that I've built. And I'm saying, grab your free book here, throwing a direct link to my playbook to basically get that lead to join my email list. And you can see there's me with my little daughter here, but giving the playbook to get that lead on the list. That is my 1 offer on socials, right? With 1 post a day to get people on my list. And then once they're on the list, obviously the entire week I was writing little stories, and I never do the whole value bro email thing. I tell stories that provide insights from my lived experience. Sometimes like this email, it's about a story with my cats and dogs. Other times it's a story about a client, but it's at the intersection of who I am and what I do. And I try to make them fun, but this is an example of one of the emails this week. This is on the 17th. Today is the 20th of August. They call me the dog walker. So every morning in Cyprus, I wander the streets in my Birkenstocks and my 3 dogs. There they are, Coconut, Sansa, and Bron. And we bark and we do this and this. And people think I own like some dog walking company. And I laugh because I'm not chasing dogs for a living. I am an offer owner. I make offers and, whatever it is. And then this is the bottom of the email where I turn the story, I grab a lesson, and then I pivot and make an offer. And that was sort of me promoting this little workshop sprint. So they're fun, they're engaging, even if somebody chooses not to buy, they still learn something about me, for example. So that's an example of an email. That's an example of a post. And then you see this offer here is a low ticket offer, right? You can grab that. I'm basically saying here, and that turns a lead to a customer, right? And then in the back end or in the workshop or the following week, I'm still going to write a story-driven email, but I might make a client offer to turn them into a client. So that's basically what I did. I drafted 7 little story-driven emails. I wrote 7 posts, 1 a day on LinkedIn, did a few stories on Instagram, got people here, let's go back here, to get the leads warmed up, gave them a little playbook, gave them an invitation to join my email list. And on the way, made them a little snack, right? So they can get a taste of my world, and then gave them a bigger snack later, right? There's our little doodle again. So 1 post, then 1 email, 7 days. Obviously, in this scenario, there was true scarcity because, urgency rather, because the workshop was on Tuesday, yesterday. So the doors were closing, and I was quite vocal about it. I'm like, guys, we're starting the live workshop on Tuesday at 4 p.m. If you want to be a part of it, the doors will close after that. So it's not like some made up thing. I was very honest about starting on Tuesday and then, following through. So that turned leads to customers who bought the workshop series, and then from customers to clients are people who wanted more proximity to me. So that is a little bit of a breakdown. I know I was jumping from here and there, but I sort of like this fig jam thing. Let me know in the comments if this was valuable to you and whether you learned something. But yeah, you can hit subscribe. You can ask any questions down below. And if you like these sorts of videos and little behind the scenes, I'm more than happy to do more of them. But yeah, there's one little takeaway, there is energy, and from the energy we create money, right? By doing work. But if we put the word asset in the middle of it and we go, I'm going to turn an asset from the energy that I put into this little container, then the asset gives me leverage because the asset makes me money by sort of almost programmatically utilizing that energy where I no longer have to be there. So that is sort of a really, really big takeaway for me on a more philosophical level. So leads, customers, clients, 1 post a day, the intersection of who you are and what you do, 1 email that is story driven with a customer offer or a client offer, and then using little Google Docs to send people up and down. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.